Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra metagame breakdown. I'm really sorry, I'm really late this time. There are two reasons for this. First of all, when I was preparing the video, the mobalytics reset their stats because of the no changes 1.7 balance patch, which caught me off guard, which also means this metagame breakdown will be a bit more improvised. I still have the archetypes in the order of most played and highest win rate. I could secure that the evening before they reset, but I didn't put in the specific numbers, so I don't have the exact numbers. I just have rough remembrances of what some of the numbers were, so I'll mention them. But there's still like a lot to talk about in terms of we still have the top 5 most played, the top 5 highest win rate, and analysis of this. Although some of the top 5 highest win rate deck lists are a bit suboptimal, because I had to pull them from the low sample size of the reset data, because I only had the tabs open with the region combinations, but hadn't like saved deck lists yet. So that was a big mess up on my part. Sorry about that. And then when I tried to record this video yesterday, I had some technical issues with my microphone, so I also couldn't put it out yesterday. So finally here we are. So apologies for that, but I hope you enjoy it anyway, even though it's a bit more improvised than normally. So the other thing before I want to dive into the content is, I looked at my stats and saw that roughly 70% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel yet. So please consider subscribing to the channel down below. Turn on the notification icon to not miss out on future content. That is a free and fast way to help support the channel, make the channel grow, make more people see the videos, make more people subscribe, and so on and so forth. It snowballs from there. So just a great way to help me out here if you enjoy watching my content by just clicking the subscribe button and joining the channel. That would be awesome. And the last thing before we dive into the breakdown, you know the drill. Let me introduce you to today's sponsors. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, one of the leading virtual private network providers out there. A virtual private network keeps your data secure and yourself anonymous while using the internet. NordVPN comes with super fast servers, allows you to unlock your favorite entertainment websites like Netflix. They provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also have an included cybersecurity suite, which acts as an ad blocker to boot. They don't lock any of your data, provide a 24/7 customer support, and you can use it on up to 6 simultaneous connections, so one account covers most or all of your electronic devices. And most importantly, they don't have any bandwidth limit, so you can use it non-stop without it getting throttled, which is particularly important for heavy users like us. It also won multiple awards and comes highly recommended by top technology experts. So if you're still surfing online without a VPN, now is the time to change that. Get NordVPN now, 70% off for a 3-year plan, including 1 month extra for free using the code ManuS or the personalized link in the description down below. And now on to today's content. Alright, so first things first. This is number 5 in terms of most played. So Twisted Fate Swain really has had quite a rise from the last metagame breakdown. It kind of started popping up in the metagame breakdown last time, but didn't like make it into the numbers. It had a high win rate, but the sample size was too low for me to include. I wasn't sure yet if it's gonna be like a thing to stay or if it's just a fluke. But now we still have a pretty high win rate, not as high as last week, but a much bigger sample size and enough to make it into 5th place. Still not sure why on ladder you would play this over the Bilgewater PNZ variants, but it is probably a similarly strong deck. I'll have to give it another shake to form more of an opinion, but so far I'm a big proponent of Bilgewater PNZ over this. But this is certainly also strong, even though I like the other one better overall, I think. Anyway, on to number 4. In 4th place we have Deep. Told you many times, not a big fan of the deck. Played it a couple of games the other day, still not a big fan of the deck. Also, if you play the deck, I'm kind of a big fan of Ruination. because otherwise beating decks like Demacia and other aggressive decks is basically impossible. I guess you could argue there isn't that much of those right now, and you don't need it, but even against something like Ash Sejuani, I think you probably want Ruination, so I would definitely recommend jamming to Ruination in your deep deck from my experience with and against it. Otherwise, yeah, don't play Riptide. Seems like a pretty bad choice. It's only good if you have Nautilus out, and if you have Nautilus out, your deck is small and you have the additional Nautiluses that weren't tossed that are Riptide, so I don't get why you would ever put Riptide in this deck. But yeah, deck is okay. Win rate isn't that high. And this is one of the decks where I think it's not that hard to play in the sense that the win rate in the stats relative to like the win rate of a like good player with the archetype isn't that big of a discrepancy, but I could be wrong. But yeah, would not recommend. It's just very mediocre in my experience against the field. Next we have Discard Aggro, still surprisingly in the third spot. I kind of would have expected it to fade more, but it still seems fairly popular. Nice to see other people messing around with Crowd Favorite. I've been a big proponent of Crowd Favorite in the deck for months, basically, thanks to Josh Utter-Layton, who suggested putting 3 Crowd Favorite in the deck to me back when I messed with it and had a lot of success with the list. Cannot recommend Arena Bookie, especially with Crowd Favorite and Vision. There should absolutely be House Spiders in this deck. The win rate of the deck also went up by like 3%, almost 4%, like 49 point something to almost 53. So the deck is also doing better. I guess the metagame is shifting in a direction where it is a bit better, but it's still like pretty bad against Twisted Fate Swain probably, and definitely against Twisted Fate Ezreal in my experience. So it's not particularly well positioned, but it's a cool deck. Next we have the mentioned Ezreal Twisted Fate, still in second place. Still a bit surprised that this is less popular than the first place deck, given that it's one of the 2 tier 1 decks, and in my opinion the better of the 2, so the best deck in the format effectively, and it has a good matchup against the other tier 1 deck, which should make it like easily the most popular, but I guess not everyone is capable of playing this deck well enough, judging by the stats. The stats went up a bit from last week, but they're still like way too low relative to how good this deck can be. My win rate over almost 100 games is over 70% with the deck at high masters against good players, mostly. So the win rate discrepancy here is very huge. Yeah, the deck is just very good. It's also good against the most played deck, so if you want to win on ladder, this is still one of your best, if not the best bet. Even though people are getting a bit more hostile towards it with decks like Endure and stuff like that. And number 1 is still Ash Sejuani. I honestly think the deck is a bit overrated. It's very popular and it's a very solid deck, but I don't think it's a great deck. I think in terms of its quality, it arguably is a bit more of a good tier 2 deck than a tier 1 deck, since it just doesn't do that much particularly well. It's very decent, has a lot of good cards and card advantage and stuff, but if you're not facing like medium-sized, like mid-range unit decks, you generally at a bit of a disadvantage in my experience. And the biggest strike in my opinion is that it is quite the underdog against Twisted Fate Ezreal, which is the other sort of most played and tier 1 deck. Win rate of this deck also went down. I think it's at like 56% now instead of like almost 59. Also my experience from testing this deck, the win rate discrepancy is much smaller here. I think my win rate with this deck was, I don't know, around 60-65%, so easily 10% lower than with Ezreal Twisted Fate. So the discrepancy is much smaller here because this deck is a bit more straightforward to play. Doesn't mean there's no skill involved and you can't play the deck better than other people and stuff like that, but to get like, I don't know, 70-80% of its quality is much of its like performance is much easier than say with Ezreal Twisted Fate, apparently. It's always a bit hard to judge from the inside when you like do well with a deck and the deck doesn't seem particularly hard to you, but It might be to others. Alright, that covers the top 5 most popular decks, and I think this isn't gonna change too much till we get new content. In, I think, 2 weeks we get the 2 or 3 weeks we get the Targon cards. I think it's 2.5 weeks or something. Basically, with the end of the season, we get the new Targon region, and yeah, 13 new champions, I think, 6 Targon champions, and 1 champion for each other region, so all regions have 6 champions. Actually, Bilgewater will have 6 champions, and the other regions will have 5 champions, right? Because they had... Oh no, they had 4 champions. Never mind. Anyway, in 5th place of the highest win rate decks, Misfortune Sejuani is making a bit of a comeback. I think I mentioned this before. This is another option for Riptide Rex, which is one of the most powerful things in the format right now, and a card I would expect to see some kind of nerf balance adjustment in the next balance patch. Either they'll make it more expensive or maybe take away one of its shots to make it like a little less devastating, something like that. But yeah, I think this deck is fine. I played it a bunch. It's solid, but it's not like particularly great in my experience, but definitely a decent choice if you like this kind of deck, basically, but not a justifiable choice in my experience if you just want to like maximize your win rate and your climb on ladder. Then you just have better options, and the Azrael Twisted Fate is a better Riptide Rex deck at that as well. I've been messing around with like Gangplank Sejuani instead of Misfortune Sejuani, which is otherwise mostly the same deck, just some adjustments to fit that change, sort of, but it's the same sort of main plan and skeleton. I'll put out a testing compilation from my stream when I put it together and tried it in the next few days, so keep an eye out on that. I like that better than this. I played both, and I think I like Gangplank Sejuani quite a bit better, and it feels a lot more appealing in terms of its power, raw power and potential. Next we have the Ash Sejuani, only coming in 4th place with the around 56% win rate, from what I remember. But yeah, short thing about the list here. Basically, yeah, Brittle Steel should be a 3-off, almost definitely. I don't get why you need all these babbling Björks in addition to Assessors and stuff. So I would probably shave a Björk for Brittle Steel and maybe make some future changes after playing it a bit more. But that's the like one obvious change that I would definitely want. Then we have Misfortune Quinn Scouts. Quinn over Lucian. This list definitely has too many Bilgewater cards. Definitely cut the Jagged Butchers, and I would probably even recommend cutting the Officers for Protege. Protege is very good, and not running any cards that hurt your Misfortune, that hurt your Bannerman is a nice plus. Not running any Rangers Resolve is criminal. There should absolutely be 2 Rangers Resolve in any Demacia unit deck basically currently, especially against Riptide Rexes. And running like 6 drops seems a bit excessive, so this list is anything other than ideal, but the archetype still seems to have legs. I personally, every time I tried Scout variants, I kind of hated the deck, feels super mediocre to me, and I like it much less than, say, the more traditional Lucian or Fiora Bannerman Garen decks that I've tried that felt, yeah, much better overall and have done much better in testing for me. But other people seem to still like and succeed with this, so who am I to judge, I guess. Next we have They Who Endure, still on the rise, win rate going really high, almost 59%. Not too surprised, deck is well positioned. This is a very traditional version. As I mentioned in my deck tech, I would absolutely cut the Haunted Relics for a Neverglade Collector and either a 3rd Butcher or something else. Really, I think Relic is a card that's mostly bad and good in like 2 or 3 contexts, and one of them being Collector, where the deck only even has 2 of, which is insane because it's one of the strongest cards in the deck. I'll link my deck tag to the deck and my version up here, so you can check it out if you haven't yet. The same way that you can check out my Azrael Twisted Fate deck tag that I'll tagged during the Azrael Twisted Fate section. And on top of the win rate, we have, in fact, Twisted Fate Swain. If this sample size would have been a bit higher last week, it would have already been at the top last week, so that's kind of surprising, given that they seem similar to Azrael Twisted Fate, also in terms of how they play out. And this doing so much better than Azrael Twisted Fate is something that I have a hard time explaining, given that I'm doing really well with Azrael Twisted Fate, and from the little testing that I've done, did worse with this, and can't imagine doing better than Azrael Twisted Fate with this, but possibly similarly well. But there's still like a huge discrepancy. Maybe it's easier to play to some people. I am not sure, because it has a bit more like sort of raw onboard type stuff with Swain and Leviathan locking people out. I don't know. Definitely surprised that the win rate discrepancy in stats between the two is so big, given that they are very like similar decks. And I think the Azrael Twisted Fate deck is actually like a better Bilgewater Rex deck, and that Rex is more appealing overall than Leviathan. But yeah, I guess they are at least probably like similarly good decks. I'll do more testing with Twisted Fate Swain on stream in the upcoming days. I could see trying a second Rex over the third Leviathan, although the deck isn't that great at activating Rex without any warning shot sources, so I'm not sure how well that plays. So yeah, that's this week's breakdown of the top 5 highest win rate decks and the top 5 most popular decks. Hope you enjoyed it, hope that was insightful to you. There will probably be 1 or 2 more of these before we get a big shakeup with all the new cards. Looking forward to it, pretty excited for some new stuff, gonna be pretty cool. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. And yeah, if you enjoy the content, hit the like button, subscribe down below, turn on your notification icon to not miss out on future content. Share it with your friends, turn off your ad block to help support your favorite content creators on YouTube. And if you want to further support me, there's usually an ad at the end of each video, so just let the video run out. Check out the ad. That helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for supporting me. And for more information, check the description down below. I'm your host, ManuS. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.